Hi, friends. Welcome to the first ever edition of Video Notes this year. I will be leading you through this sheet, which you received from me in class. This is the little dog. She is cute, and we'll be really thinking that you should be learning a lot because we're talking about the Roman Republic and the structure of this. Here's the expectations. You're going to use this sheet. Okay. I'm going to go through these slides. I've uploaded this slideshow to VRSpot. You can pause me at any time. Come find me and physically ask questions because I don't want to confuse you. But we are talking about the structure of the Roman government. And why is that important? Because there's so many similarities to the United States government. So please ask questions and stop me if necessary. And away we go. Rule of thumb today, if it's in red, you'll write it down on your sheet. The Roman government was made up of three branches of government. We have the executive branch, led by the consul. We have the legislative branch, which was led by the Senate and the Assembly. And then we have the judicial branch. Same exact thing in the United States. The executive branch was led by the magistrates. The magistrates were 20 elected officials, and the magistrates had many duties, including, and most importantly, acting as judges. They would collect taxes or be tax collectors, as well as urban planners. By far, the most important magistrates were the consuls. Two served at the same time, which is kind of interesting. A consul would be like the equivalent of a president, most powerful people, and that's also kind of weird. They only served for 1 year. And their two main roles is they issued laws and led the army. And in order to prevent them from not becoming too powerful, consuls had this thing called the veto power. They could veto decisions, and veto literally means I reject. Writing it down here. You should write that down as well. They had the power to veto each other, and they could basically override each other's decisions. In order for this to move smoothly, they had to agree. If they didn't agree, they could veto each other's decisions. If nothing was getting done, and the consuls really didn't agree, or in times of crisis, a dictator could be appointed. Dictators were elected in times of crisis or disagreement, and they could only serve for 6 months. Dictators had absolute control and power. Now remember, the Romans overthrew a tyrant so that more people had influence in their decisions. Dictators were only there for 6 months just in case. Famous dictator, Cincinnatus. The city of Cincinnati is named after him. He became a dictator in 458 BC and willingly gave up the power after only 6 months. He was very highly respected because he became this dictator and had all this great power and then knew for the greater good to give it back to control of the Roman government. Moving on to the second branch of government, the legislative branch, and it was made up of two parts. The first part, the Senate. And the Senate was 300 men from the patrician class. And what was interesting about the Senate, and I'm going to highlight this, because they were elected and held their offices for life. Their term limit, forever. Consuls, remember, they had to run for only 1 year and were in charge for 1 year before re-election. Once you were a senator, you held that office for life. And over time, the Senate gained more and more power, and a plebeian could become a senator. But their main job was to advise the consuls. The second part of the legislative branch was the assembly. And the assembly was important because it protected the rights of the plebeians. And plebeians got more rights as the years progressed. But one of the most important part of this was these 10 elected officials called tribunes. And tribunes or tribunes, they had this power to veto the actions of the consuls or senate. The whole point of this republican government is that no one person had too much power. We call this checks and balances, and it's a vocab word this week. It'll be on your quiz on Friday, and we'll talk more about it here shortly. But the veto power of this assembly really made sure that no one in the Senate or no one in the consul could become too powerful. The last branch of government was the judicial branch. And very similar to the United States Supreme Court, the judicial branch is responsible for interpreting and applying the laws. The head of the judicial branch was this person called a praetor or praetor. And I know that might look like praetor or praetor, but Google says it's pronounced praetor. They're important magistrates, and they served as judges. And really, the important or the lasting legacy of the ancient Romans, one of them, especially in terms of their government, is the 12 Tables, which was the first written laws in Rome, created around 450 BC. We will be working with the 12 Tables tomorrow, but the 12 Tables made sure that everyone knew the laws, everyone followed the laws, and the praetors used these tables as reference in their legal duties. All right, so what's the big deal? The big deal is that this representative government was new and important and left a lasting legacy, because in this representative government, leaders are elected and then they represent the views of the people. Athens, remember, was a true democracy or a direct democracy, while Rome was this representative democracy, aka a republic. And why is this republican government so unique and important and influential to future governments? Is this concept known as checks and balances, sometimes called separation of powers. But what does it mean? I'm trying to highlight this, darn it. Here's what it means. No one person or group or branch of government has all that power. Like, triple underline that. What are checks and balances? It makes sure that no one person can become a tyrant and have too much power and influence. Now, spoiler alert, Julius Caesar is going to kind of mess this up here in about 500 years. But this idea is so important. It's very, very, very important in the United States. The United States is also separated into 3 branches. It has checks and balances throughout. You'll hear me say it about 500 times in class. Why are checks and balances important? Because it makes sure that no one group, no one person, or no one branch of the government has all the power and control the rights of all of the citizens. As we finish up here, I really like this tiny little table, just because it compares Rome and the United States. It talks about the 3 branches and comparing them. And the next slide will do the same exact thing. I told you it will do the same exact thing. In summary, and I know there's lots of vocab. In summary, this dog is very cute. And also, the Republican government, the Republic of Rome, was structured in a way that no one group had too much power. There were 3 branches. We had the executive branch headed by the consul. We have the legislative branch, which had assemblies, as well as the Senate. And we also had the judicial branch. My point going forward, or my hope going forward, is that you know what these words mean. The 12 tables are very new. We will be working with that tomorrow. And this concept of checks and balances, my friend, is a very important concept in government in general. You'll learn all about it next year in 8th grade history. But right now, the Romans checks and balances is what I want you to focus on. I appreciate you watching the video. At this time, this note sheet should be filled. I also want you to notice you have some reading on the back. I will give further instruction on that. But you are going to keep this. Heck, write it giant on the front, because you are all done with the video notes today. Thank you. I kept it under 10 minutes. You're welcome. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.